I can say ls-ltr a and b. I can simply say ls-ltr /temp. I can pass the file name as input. This is the basic syntax, right? Command name followed by options followed by file names. Here I can specify A, I can specify B, I can specify /temp. I can specify ls-ltr /temp /anant. So inside anant I again have a directory called Hema. Directory total 0 means there is nothing exists. That's what I am trying to show you here. I can say ls-l long listing, hidden files, files based upon a modified time in reverse order, ls-l a specific directory or a file. We already looked at the cd command, cd options directories, cd / to go to root directory, cd dot you will be in present working directory as only, cd dot one directory above, cd hyphen previous working directory. Sometimes you just get confused between cd hyphen and cd. No matter what, you will just go to previous working directory. From whichever the directory you came to the current directory, you will go back to your previous working directory. cd enter will always take you to home directory. So we looked at this command called mkdir. Mkdir is an option I have to create directory. So one option I haven't showed you here is, if I go to my home directory, I can create a directory as Anand, Hema, Kaushik and Shruti. I can create 4 directories in one shot. I can create 4 directories in one shot, or I can just specify one directory. See what I'm saying? So if I go inside Anand, there is nothing exists. To create here a directory called makedir directory 1. I can say directory, once I create a directory 1, create a directory 1 inside directory 2. Once I create directory 1, once we have a directory 2, I can say directory 3. I can have these directories created like this. See what I'm saying?
So can't I write like directly mkdir directory 1 / directory 2? I mean, like, it won't create the directory 1 automatically.
Yeah, I'll explain that. When I simply make dir, when I simply say make dir ASDF1, ASDF2, ASDF3, it will fail. Why it will fail? Because it won't find this ASDF1. It will fail because there is no such file as ASDF1. Now here you have to say make dir -p, then it will create. What you are saying this is, if you encounter a directory which does not exist, go ahead and create. Instead of specifying directory 1, once you create a directory 1, then create directory 2. Once you create directory 2, then create a directory 3. Instead of saying that, what you are saying that is, this is the hierarchy I want. I don't care if it exists, don't touch it. If it does not exist, just create it. So that's why when I say make dir ASDF1, sorry, cd ASDF1, I see ASDF2 in one shot, it's just a way of creating in one shot. So the important option with mkdir is -p, or it's a -p. That is what you are asking, Kaushik?
Yes.
Okay. So another important thing here is, if I just go back to my home directory, I can say pwd and ls, or I can say pwd semicolon and ls. I can put 2 commands in a single line separated by semicolon, so that this will be executed first. Immediately once this completes, the second command will execute. It's as equivalent as writing pwd and ls. or I can simply say pwd and ls. Got it what I'm saying? The next important command we have is cp. cp is a command which will help me to copy files and or directories from one location to another location. How do we do a copy in Windows? We just simply right click, copy, and we just go to the location wherever we want, we just place it. But how do I do a copy here? cd, if I go to Anand, there are various directories exist here. If I touch a file, if I go to directory 1, if I touch a file A, B and C, I see these 3 files and 1 directory here. Now let me put it here in a notepad. Under home, under db2 inst1, what I have is I have Anand directory. Under Anand, what I have is I have directory 1, I have ASDF1. But inside directory 1 I have A, B, C. Now my objective is to copy the file from file A from directory 1 to ASDF1. I would like to move this file or copy this file from here to the parallel directory called ASDF1. Now how do I do it is copy whatever the file I want to copy to whichever the directory I want to copy. So I can say that simply // from directory 1 I am going about to Anand, then I am coming back to ASDF1. CP takes 2 arguments. The first argument is a single file or a bunch of files. The second argument is a location or a file name. So when I say A, if I want to copy A from here inside this directory 1, I first have to go to Anand, then I come back to ASDF1. This is an example of using relative path. But there is an example using absolute path. The example using absolute path is initially this is a little confusing thing to use. So if you are not comfortable with relative path, always use absolute path. Absolute path is I am saying copy this file B from current working directory to what is this file directory name? ASDF1. That's it. It is saying that no such directory because I have missed Anand here. Again I misspelled Anand name. So if I go and check in this directory now, I'll see these 2 files. One is A and another one is B. If I am at a temp directory, I can simply say copy directory 1 C2 C underscore. It's not that I always have to specify a file in a current working directory. I can sit anywhere in the file system. I can give input file name and I can give output file name. If I don't give output file name, by default same name will be given to that file inside the new directory. If I go here You see, one is C underscore new, another one is C. Why you got C underscore new? Because here I said copy file C as C underscore new. If I don't specify this C underscore new or C, by default it will inherit the same file name from where you are copying. So the syntax for CP here is, you can give absolute or relative path plus file name. Okay, here you can give absolute or relative path plus an optional file name. This is to copy files. Okay, now if there is a need to copy a directory, want to copy ASDF1 as ASDF2, I cannot simply say copy ASDF1 as ASDF2. Okay, I have to use an option called -r, ASDF1 and ASDF2. Go ahead and copy recursively. When I say ls-l, this is one simple difference you have to keep in mind. You see all the files. Basically, you have to think like which file you are copying. Whether you are copying normal file or whether you are trying to copy an entire directory. If you are playing on a directory, so you have to say -r option. Make sense so far?
Ravi, if the file exists, does it replace by default?
Yes, that's a very good question, Hema. Very good. Now let's try to do this. When I say copy A to A, you got the file error, right? Yeah. Or let's try to do this. Let's copy. There is a directory 1 and A. It actually replaces by default. It replaces by default. If I say copy, there is a command called echo $, which will tell me that the command return code from the previous command's return status. If it is 0, that means previous command is successful. I think there is an option here, copy -i. -i is an interactive copy. It will ask me whether do you want me to overwrite. What I'm saying? Yeah, this is your body here. So you have to use -i option. Otherwise, by default, it overwrites unless you are in a current working directory. Okay. If I say no, it won't copy. This is what you are asking him.
Yeah.
Okay. Now here there is something called command called rm. Rm is a command that you need to be very careful because there is nothing like a recycle bin like you have in Windows. Sorry, you have a question, Kaushik?
No, RM is nothing but remove, right?
Yeah. Rm is a command that will help us to remove a file or a directory, anything inside. So you need to be very careful while you are using rm because once you remove something, you cannot get it back unless that's been backed up somewhere. It's not like you have a recycle bin in like Windows, you don't have any recycle bin here. When I say rm a, the file is gone. That's why we most frequently use rm-i b. So it will ask me that whether you want to remove this empty file. Yes. -i is an interactive thing. So if I want to remove a directory, when you say rm directory name, it won't take it by default. Okay. To remove directory, there is some command called rmdir. Again, this won't work. Unless you remove everything inside the directory, rmdir does not work. That's why there is one dangerous command called rm-rf asdf2. I don't care what's inside this directory. Let's remove it forcefully. If you run this command, please make sure you double check what you are typing there. You cannot get it back. You are removing forcefully and everything. Right? It's gone. ASDF2 is gone. You cannot get it. Unless it's backed up in a file system, like which Unix guys do the backup like once in a day, depending upon your business need. You cannot anyway, come back to the latest point unless there is a replication set up on these folders. So rm in short is a dangerous command. Always use rm-i. Yeah, there is another command here called mv. mv is like a rename command. It will help me to do a cut and paste instead of copy and paste. You see my point? Cut and paste instead of doing the copy and paste. If I have to rename C underscore new. If I want to move this C underscore new to temp, move. It's like cut and paste, okay? There are no files. When I go to temp directory, when I see this, I should be seeing C underscore new. The next command we have in line is link command. It will help me to create a shortcuts like in Windows. In Unix, you have a file called etc password file. Cat is a command which will help me to see the contents of a file. When I do ls-l etc password, it tells me that the file is created by root, group is root, the file size is so and so, this is the time loss modified, this is the location here, and these are the permissions people have on this, and this is just a plain file, the first character. Now if I have to see a contents of this file, what is this 1528 bytes uses, I simply have to say cat and the file name and enter.